Hello and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you a comparison between Codex, Windsurf and Cosine. We were going to have two different use cases. One of them is start from scratch and build a new to-do list, to-do app, however you want to call it. We're going to do something simple and then we're going to add some more advanced features. And the second use case is going to be start from an open source project. So I'm going to clone an open source project and then I'm going to add some features in it, and let's see which of these platforms is going to have or is going to give me a better result. Let's get started with Codex and the first prompt. Alright, and here we have the first tool. So I've already started working on it and you can see already the result here. This is with Codex. Let's add a few things on my to-do list to see if this is working as it's supposed to be. I'm currently have this on my local host, but I also asked for directions to do the same thing on Vercel. Okay, then I tried to break something. Let's see how it's working if you are breaking something. And I have to say that Codex did a pretty good job. It didn't take it a lot of time, although I removed quite a few things like some functions, some random numbers. It's still working. It was still working very nicely. So every time check the instructions that it give you below the prompt. So in my case, it was working nicely. So then I asked if we could do a refactor. I think there are some functions. Can we rewrite them? And in the end, please explain me what kind of refactor you did. And again, it took it a couple of minutes. I'm going to say that this was not something very advanced, so it wasn't taking a lot of time, but I liked how it explained everything with lines, with specific files, what kind of refactor that was. And then of course again I checked the result to make sure that everything was as it's supposed to be and it didn't make anything weird. Okay, the next thing was to add a new feature. Specifically, I asked for a CSV file that the user can download the file from, and again it did that. It gave me some updates or how exactly it built that, again some more information on how I can run that, and I very quickly also checked the differences. And here you have it. We can see the CSV file, and I have to say again that it was working quite good. But for more details, make sure that you check my article. It will be linked in the description so you can see some things that didn't really go as planned. And now you can already see here Windsurf. I have to say that Windsurf was in general quite fast and it always gave me nice instructions. Also, to start, you don't need to connect to GitHub in contrary with Codex, and you can start fresh. You don't have to have a repo or a project. Something that I noticed on Windsurf is that it was making some mistakes or some errors, but it was strong in self-healing, meaning that every time it was able to catch those errors, and then it was asking if I wanted to go back and fix those things, which of course I said yes. Okay, and now let's see what we have here. This time my to-do list was working nicely and I could add all the things that I wanted. Again, we can see that we have the same tabs, all active completed and clear completed. That was something that the three platforms, Cosine as well, did them on their own. So I didn't ask for them, and that was a nice thing because the to-do list need to have those. So here we have some auto fixes with a few stuff. Again, Windsurf had to fix some things. I later realized that these were warnings and not real errors. Okay, and now let's remove a few lines of code and test it. I tried to remove pretty much the same lines as I had done before with Codex, so it was easier for me to compare those two things. And again, I removed a few functions and a few random lines of code. I removed some variables and stuff like that. It mentioned all the findings and how to check the final result, so that was nice. So it did mention that, hey, we didn't find this and this and that, but now you can check it because I fixed those things. And indeed, as you can see here, I did check those things and it was working nicely. The other thing that I did was also for a more general refactor, and in the end I asked why or what type this refactor was. It took it a few minutes to do everything, and as you can see here, there were some errors, but it was able to fix those errors on its own, so I didn't have to touch a lot of things in the code. That was a really nice thing. Something else that I noticed with Windsurf is that the more I was coding and the more code that I had and the more I was prompting it, the more time it took it to complete my request, which I found a bit weird, since again I wasn't asking something super advanced. But okay. And then the last thing was to add the CSV file. Again, it showed me how it works and how I could test that. I added a few things on my to-do list. I checked again if it's working nicely, and then I downloaded the CSV, which again was what I was expecting. So a really nice job here. Okay, and now I think it's time to move to Cosine, which is the last platform that we are going to see for today. Cosine, you can find it on VS Code Marketplace, but also there is a CLI and a web version. Here I'm going to test, as you saw, the VS Code extension, so it's pretty similar with the other two platforms that we saw. The first iteration was pretty fast, no mistakes, no errors, and I have everything done, all active completed, clear completed, everything, it was working. And something that I noticed here is that it also added an edit, delete, and cancel functionality, which was something that the other two apps didn't do. Anyway, then I moved on and I said, okay, I want a few changes because it's not running, since I had deleted a few things. With Cosine, I removed more stuff from app and I just wanted to check how fast it can find those mistakes, and it did it pretty fast. I was very impressed with that. Of course, I checked again my app every time I do that, and I also recommend everyone doing it. And then I asked for a refactor, and in the end I asked what was changed and why. So it gave me a really nice explanation of everything that it was changed and why. This is the most important thing. I test again the app and it was working nicely. So let's move on to the next thing, which was to ask for the CSV file, and this time again it delivered a really nice result. It gave me instructions on how to use it, and here is how I am working on it. First, let's add a few things, and now we have the clear, completed, and the export CSV. If I download the file, again, I can see everything really nicely. So here we actually have the second project that I asked Codex to do. I downloaded or I cloned an open source project and I asked, what is this project, what does it do? And it gave me a nice explanation, what does it do. Then I asked what features I could add here, and again it gave me some features that I could implement. So here is actually this new project as a music analyzer demo that I found on GitHub, and I asked it, based on the features it suggested, to add this to graphs, which was like really nicely done. But then if we move on to Windsurf, I realized that Windsurf can do it better. I asked the same things, and here I'm like, what features can I add? And it suggested me quite a lot of things. It's nice to have, it's recommended sequence, pick your starting point, which was something that Codex didn't really do. So again, here I'm testing everything before I asked it to implement that particular feature, and when I suggested this feature, it did it pretty fast. It asked me a few questions on how I wanted to implement it, which again was something that Codex didn't do. But you can see here the final result. It looks a little bit different than Codex, but of course it's really nicely done. And then I did the same thing. What does this project do and what features I can add with Cosine. Cosine was pretty fast. I was really happy with the results in what features I can add, because it gave me the best list. If you see the features, it gave me a lot of them, and it also gave me a nice order that I could implement them. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to check that everything is working nicely, and then I'm going to ask for the exactly same feature that I did before, and I'm going to let it work for a couple of minutes, I think 1 or 2 minutes, and it was done. And after that it was done. It gives me some instructions and says how I can run it, but then I can see the waveform, and again everything, it looks really nicely. Okay, I think that I was happy with it, so now it's time to move on to my conclusion. Each tool delivered value in its own lane. Codex, dependable code generator, minimal handholding. Windsurf, fast and strong self-healing. And Cosine, most structure, workflows with thieves, rational and auditability baked in. AI coding tools are converging on speed, but clarity and collaboration still decide who wins in the editor. Codex writes, Windsurf reacts, and Cosine orchestrates, turning AI edits into traceable, review-ready changes. Make sure to pick what best suits your company and your team. Don't go with the flow. Make sure that it's your own choice. And here I tried to present those 3 platforms as clear as I could, but also make sure to check the description because I have more details, and also the GitHub profiles of all the projects that I did. Happy coding!